Yes, it is. Welcome into Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Grandy with you for a special extended edition of Warriors Live. If you are a loyal listener to Warriors basketball here on 95.7 The Game, you know that normally we're live an hour before tip-off. And no, the Warriors are not playing an 11 o'clock game this morning, although it is early afternoon matinee basketball for the Warriors on this Sunday at Chase Center. And it's a very big day. As a result, I've got an extended Warriors Live with you here on 95.7 The Game. It's 10 a.m. right now out here on the West Coast. I'm with you until noon ahead of tip-off between the Warriors and the Mavericks at 12:30. And I'm also live at Splash in Thrive City, one of the newest eateries, restaurants, bars here at Thrive City, just outside of Chase Center. Doors just opened moments ago. If you're looking for a place to watch one of the early games across the NBA today, which is a pretty darn good basketball game with the Celtics and the Knicks from Boston. If you're just looking to grab something to eat or to drink before you head into Chase for this game and for Andre Iguodala's jersey retirement, no better place to do it than at Splash, just outside of Chase Center here in Thrive City. I'm sitting in a little booth right now. I can say hi to you during a break if you come up and stop by. Certainly say hi. It's Splash at Thrive City. Again, doors just opened right now, and they got a lot going on, especially today with doors opening right now at 10 a.m. ahead of Warriors versus Mavericks. They've got a breakfast buffet going. It's $40 for adults, $20 for kids that are 13 and under. Omelets cooked to order. They'll also have a game day menu to order a la carte. Omelets, bacon, house potatoes, pancakes, waffles, scrambled eggs, mixed green salad, and fresh fruit. Plenty for everybody here at Splash, and that is right now. Doors opened just a couple of minutes ago at 10 a.m. It's Mark Randy with you here on 95.7 The Game for an extended Warriors live from Splash at Thrive City. Stop by and say what's up. Well, I mentioned it's a big day, and I said a couple of the reasons why. First of all, the Dallas Mavericks are in town, and I know we've already had two of these, but every Klay Thompson return is special. Nothing will be quite as special as the first time Klay played at Chase as a member of the Mavericks or wearing a jersey other than the Warriors. But still, Klay Thompson returning, it's special, and that's happening again today, again at 12:30 this afternoon. Also, it's Jimmy Butler's first home game as a Golden State Warrior. I mean, he's been a Warrior now for a couple of weeks, and it kind of course, happened not because the Warriors have played only road games, a bunch of road games of late, although they did just come off of a road trip, but the All-Star break mixed in there kind of delayed this home debut for Jimmy Butler. So that's also happening today, and there's obviously good feelings around the Warriors right now, winners of 4 of 5 in the Jimmy Butler era, including a dominant win on Friday in Sacramento against the Kings to officially kick off the second half of the season. So the Warriors have that going for them. But I'm sure there'll be some extra emotion in the pregame introduction, the starting lineup announcements inside of Chase Center today, because you'll have Klay Thompson on one end, and then you'll have Jimmy Butler on the other end. The third time the Warrior fans have ever had a chance to welcome Klay back as a member of an opposing team, and the first time they've ever had a chance to welcome Jimmy Butler at home as a member of the Golden State Warriors. So those are two big things to keep an eye on. And then another thing is that Andre Iguodala is getting his jersey retired today after the game. Andre Iguodala's number 9 will be retired in a ceremony after the game today, so if you do have tickets and you are headed into Chase Center right now, make sure you hang out post-game for the Andre Iguodala jersey retirement. That's coming up right after this game. Iguodala's number 9 jersey will go into the rafters, and it will be just the 7th player in Warriors franchise history to have their jersey number retired by the organization. Iguodala's number 9 will join Warriors legends Alvin Adels, his number 16, Rick Barry, number 24, Wilt Chamberlain, number 13, Thomas Sherry, number 14, Chris Mullin, number 17, and Nate Thurman, number 42. Those will be the only numbers in the rafters at Chase Center, and of course we hope it doesn't happen all that soon, but we of course know there will be some other numbers joining Iguodala from this era of Warriors basketball in the rafters before it's all said and done. But again, those numbers that might get retired, in fact, I mean, we know Steph, Dre, and Klay will. they're all still playing. So that is a very, very early talk at this stage. But should be a lot of fun to see all of that today. And, of course, it's an important basketball game because the Warriors are in the middle of a push for the playoffs, and they're playing pretty good basketball right now. Aside from their 12-3 beginning, this is by far the best basketball that they have played. They're winners of 4 of 5 since Jimmy Butler made his Warriors debut, all of those on the road. And there's a reason for optimism in the Bay surrounding the Golden State Warriors right now. All right, because this is an extended Warriors Live today, normally we only have 30 minutes with you ahead of games, which means it's generally pretty rushed and quick. We don't have time for your phone calls and for your texts. But because I'm with you for 2 hours today, if you want to join the conversation, shoot me a text, give me a call. My guy Cam is waiting patiently for you back in our studio, ready to answer your phone calls. You can give us a call, 888-957-9570. If you prefer text, that's also there for you as well. And you can check out our YouTube page, youtube.com/957thegame. Okay, so we got a lot to get to, of course, and we'll talk about every angle of this basketball game. But I think first we got to start from just the generic Warriors angle, which is this is a basketball team that's playing really good ball right now. They're now 29-27, and as we take a look at the Western Conference standings, they have jumped the Sacramento Kings. The win on Friday over Sacramento in Sacramento pushed the Warriors up to the 9 seed at 29-27, and now you have an opportunity not to jump another team, but to get a whole hell of a lot closer to the team that's directly ahead of you in the standings. Warriors are 9 at 29-27. The Kings are a game behind them in 10th. The Suns are a game behind them for 11th. So that's essentially, you've got 11 teams fighting for 10 spots. The Spurs are within striking distance, but the news that Wemby's out for the year probably takes them out of the running for any serious consideration. So essentially, you've got 11 teams fighting for 10 spots. Right now, the odd team out is the Phoenix Suns, although they did get a nice win last night, while Sacramento and the Warriors were idle. But the Kings 28-28, a game behind the Warriors at 29-27. Then you have both Minnesota and Dallas at 31-26. They're a game and a half ahead of the Warriors. They're essentially tied for 7th. Minnesota has the tiebreaker currently over Dallas. So Minnesota is technically 7th, Dallas technically 8th. Warriors a game and a half behind both of them for 9th. Interestingly enough, the Warriors have the tiebreaker over the Timberwolves already, and the Dallas Mavericks currently have the tiebreaker, but today is going to decide it. These two teams have already played 3 times. Dallas has won 2 of them, and the Warriors do not play Dallas again this regular season. So with a win today, the Warriors would guarantee that it goes to the next level of the tiebreak. They wouldn't automatically lose the tiebreak if they were to beat Dallas today, but that's where what happened last week becomes so frustrating for the Warriors. The Warriors were just in Dallas before the All-Star break on the 12th of February, so 11 days ago now, and the Warriors lost a heartbreaker, 111-107, and that was when Dallas was dealing with countless injuries. Now, they're still pretty darn injured, and before we get on out of here today, we will, of course, run through our injury report, as we always do here on Warriors Live. I'll break a little bit of news for you. They still don't really have a center to play, so the Warriors should have an advantage there again. But we thought the same exact thing on Wednesday, last Wednesday, the 12th of February, when the Warriors were in Dallas, and they lost that game 111-107. That was when Kyrie dominated. He scored 42 points in that game. Klay had himself a really good first half, kind of petered off in the second half, and then Kyrie took over, and the Warriors just could not do enough. They were down by 10 late, and then they pushed it, and they got back in the basketball game down the stretch, but they lost it. There was some of the weird officiating going on in that basketball game, right? There was the non-kicked ball that was called in the fourth quarter of that basketball game, which didn't make a lot of sense. There was the non-8-second violation that was called, I believe, was at the tail end of that one as well. But still, I mean, there's no excuse. The Warriors did not play a good basketball game, and they deservingly lost at that point. And, I mean, just imagine if that result was swapped. If the Warriors had beat Dallas that day, the Warriors would be 30-26. The Mavericks would be 30-27. the Warriors would be ahead of the Dallas Mavericks, and with a win today, they would not only further distance themselves, but they would also clinch the tiebreaker against Dallas, and they already have the tiebreaker against Minnesota. And I know I can go down and run through this literally for every single rough loss the Warriors have had. There's been a lot of them. And, you just find one or two or three others that go one way versus the other, and suddenly you're looking at a Warrior team that isn't trying to just make the postseason, but you're looking at a Warrior team that might be trying to get a top 4 seed. And I say that legitimately. Let's just say 3 of the Warriors' worst results, worst losses, not like blowout losses, not like a 40-point loss, like when they lost to Cleveland early in the year, right? Or when they lost to Sacramento at home I believe that was in January. Forget about those. Think about the ones where the Warriors had double-digit leads in the fourth quarters, and they blew them. San Antonio stands out. I think they led by 18 late in the third, early in the fourth. The very next game against Brooklyn, it was the Dennis Schroeder show that day for the Nets before the Warriors acquired him. Who knows, that game might have been a big reason why the Warriors felt that they needed to acquire him in the first place. I think the Warriors had a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter of that game, and they lost that one. I'm just bringing up a couple of examples because there's literally 10 that you could choose from. Just say 3 of those results went the Warriors' way instead of their opponent's way. And when I say went the Warriors' way versus their opponent's way, it's not as if their opponents got lucky. The Warriors just played terrible basketball down the stretch in each and every one of these basketball games, and they fully deserved to lose them. But we're talking about the difference in maybe over the course of a 5-minute stretch of basketball down the tail end of the basketball game, a difference of 1 or 2 plays can make the difference in winning or losing that basketball game when it's that close. Let's just say 3 of their 10 terrible losses end up turning into wins. Instead of 29-27, the Warriors would be 32-24. 32-24. They would be the 6th seed right now, a half game ahead of the Clippers, and they would be on the tail of both the Lakers and the Rockets for the 4 and 5 seed. So that is how big, whenever somebody says, it's a game in December or it's a game in January on a Tuesday in Charlotte or whatever the case is, right? I remember a couple of years ago, Draymond Green publicly said, this is just a Tuesday game in January in OKC, before OKC was good. I'm not going to get up for that basketball game. Why do I care about that basketball game? And when you are a team that's winning 75% of your games and you're very safely on a top 4 seed in the Western Conference, you can have that mentality. And I'm not saying that the Warriors have, purposefully not cared about games and as a result have lost them. But when you are a team that's just kind of fighting to stay above 500 over the course of the entire season minus the first 15 games, you don't have the ability to just coast like that. And the Warriors, again, definitely deserve all of those losses. But if only a few of them are different, the entire season feels so much more positive. And there's still a lot of positivity around the Warriors right now. But just imagine, again, if a couple of these games here and there went their way. They're looking at a 32-24 record instead of 29-27. And instead of talking about making the play-in and maybe the peak is getting to the 6th seed, we'd be talking about legitimately trying to get a top 4 seed in the Western Conference if just 3 games went your way. So whenever somebody says it's just a Tuesday game in January, it doesn't matter, this is why it matters. When you are a middle-of-the-pack team, or at least for the majority of the season, you have proven yourself to be that middle-of-the-pack team, you don't have the ability to just trick games off, and every game is of massive importance. The Warriors have 26 games left, and as you try to figure out what number of games they're going to need to win to get to the 6th seed in their final 26, it has to be a really good winning percentage because you've hurt yourself so much the first, how many games? 56 games of the season so far with 26 games left. I mean, we're looking at the Clippers with essentially a 56 winning percentage right now. And let me do this math really quick for you. They've won 56.4% of their games so far this year. That's a 46 win pace. So for the Warriors sitting at 29 wins, in order to get to 46, you've got to win 17 of your final 26 games. So 17-9 is essentially the baseline. But I would not be shocked if a team like the Clippers or the T-Wolves win at a higher clip than they currently have so far this year, and that means you might have to win 47 games or 48 games, which means instead of 17-9, you've got to go 18-8, right? Or 19-7. And while that's not impossible, the Warriors haven't shown an ability to do that over that long of a stretch this year, right? They went 12-3 to begin the season, and you look at what the Warriors have done since then. 12-3 to begin, then they went 13-23 over their next 36 games and are now 4-1 in their final 5. So this has been an extremely inconsistent team, and as you look at what they have done throughout the course of the season, they haven't been 2 games over 500 as they currently are since they were 18-16 in early January. It's been one of the oddest stretches of play for the Warriors that I can remember, like, in a really, really long time. So they're 12-3, right? 15 games later, they're 15-15. So they went 12-3. They responded with a 3-12 stretch. Okay, after that at 15-15, they then got up to 18-16. And then after that, they became 18-18. And then they've just gone 1 game over, 1 game under 500 the rest of the way before now. 18-18. They were 19-19. They were 20-20. They were 21-21, 22-22, 23-23, 24-24, 25-25, 26-26, 27-27, and now they've finally broken that trend and are 29-27. First time over 500 since January 4th. Pardon me, first time 2 games over 500 since January 4th when they beat Memphis 18-16 at home. Or they beat them to improve to 18-16 at home. And of note in that basketball game, that was when Jonathan Kuminga got hurt. Jonathan Kuminga injured himself, rolled that ankle of his that's kept him out since on January 4th at the end of the first half of that basketball game. Ever since then, the Warriors are 500. And that even includes this 4-1 stretch with Jimmy Butler. So if that doesn't show to you the importance of Jonathan Kuminga, I'm not sure much will convince you. The Warriors were 2 games over 500 when he got hurt, and they're still 2 games over 500 right now, and that includes a 4-1 stretch with Jimmy Butler. We can talk more about Jonathan Kuminga as the pregame show moves along here on 95.7 The Game. It's Warriors Live from Splash, the newest sports bar and restaurant here outside of in Thrive City, right outside of Chase Center. Doors opened at 10 here this morning. Special event with the Dubs taking on the Mavericks, of course, at 12:30 today. A matinee Warriors game. They've got a Warriors breakfast buffet going on. Omelets cooked to order. They'll also have a game day menu to order a la carte. Omelets, bacon, house potatoes, pancakes, waffles, scrambled eggs, mixed green salad, and fresh fruit. It smells delicious in here right now. And if you haven't yet been at Splash, I don't know how many of you guys listening have maybe been to Vegas or a state where sports betting or betting in general is legal, such as Las Vegas or maybe even something like Reno. But if you've been to like one of the newer sports books around the area, right? Like I was in New Orleans for a wedding in October, and they've got a brand new Caesars Sportsbook, and it's beautiful. And you walk in there, and they've just got gigantic screens, television screens all over the place, and you can watch like 20 different sporting events at once. And for someone like me, legitimately that is heaven. Even if I'm not partaking in any of the wagering, just sitting there in front of these gigantic screens and watching, and that is the vibe that Splash gives out. They've got multiple bars. They got an upstairs level. As I mentioned, they've got a food menu and the special you've got, omelets made to order, an omelet bar going on right now as well. So if you're looking to just stop by for a bite to eat or a drink before the game when you're headed into the game, this is a great spot to do it. Also, if you just want to be in the environment of sports, especially while the Warriors are in action and as they play on the floor, like just across the way from where you are here in Splash, this is a great spot to watch games as well. So I recommend stopping by if you can. And I'm on here until noon, taking breaks at the top and bottom of every hour, so stop by and say what's up. around the top and bottom of hours as well. If you are here, you can stop by and say hello. I would appreciate that for sure. But we got a lot to get to because it's Warriors and Mavs. Again, 3 big things going on today for the Warriors. Jimmy Butler's home debut. That's a big deal. I'm sure he's going to get a rousing ovation from the Warriors fans today as he gets announced, and every bucket that he scores will feel a little bit more than usual. Klay Thompson returns again, his 3rd game at Chase Center as a member of the Mavericks. And post-game tonight, Andre Iguodala, his number 9 jersey, will go to the rafters. The Warriors are retiring Andre Iguodala's jersey, the first jersey retirement for this era of Warriors basketball. There will be more to come, but this is the first. Andre Iguodala, his number 9, will never be worn by another Warrior. That will go in the rafters to join Al Attles, Rick Barry, Wilt Chamberlain, Thomas Sherry, Chris Mullin, and Nate Thurmond. Those are the only other Warriors to have their jersey retired by this organization. Okay, we got newfound optimism for the Warriors right now, and that's what I want to focus on as we continue, and I want to hear from you guys. 888-957-9570. That's the number to call. It is also our text line, and I'm also keeping an eye on our YouTube chat, youtube.com/957thegame. See a bunch of people chiming in here on YouTube. Appreciate all of you. Also the 650 on our text line. The Warriors must double-team Irving if they want to win today. They did not double-team him in the loss last time. Yes, that is true. The 650, you bring up a really good point, and I'll talk about it now. I was going to bring this up later, but might as well sneak it in now as we have a few minutes before we take our first break. I was really honestly shocked at the way the Warriors tried to defend Kyrie Irving. Last time, that was last Wednesday when the Warriors lost by 4 in Dallas. Kyrie scored 42. They were without any big men. They're also without basically any big men tonight as well. But to the 650's point, I thought the Warriors were going to throw something, creative Kyrie's way, whether it was a double team or whether it was putting a defender not named Buddy Hield on him. Because if you remember, Buddy Hield started that game, and he started as the defender on Kyrie Irving. They, at times, would put Moses Moody on him throughout the game, and while I think that's better than Buddy Hield, Moses Moody isn't necessarily the guy that you just throw out there on the quickest, most difficult guards to defend against in the NBA. Moody better than Hield, I think, at that, but still, that's not the ideal matchup. And if that was going to be the strategy, if the Warriors were going to say Buddy Hield / Moses, you got him, they had to just show him doubles from the jump, or at the very least, once he made a couple of jumpers to begin the game, because he got going early. And once that happens, you say, all right, buddy, stick on him, but we're going to shade someone else over to help you out. Oftentimes how the Warriors see that Steph Curry gets defended. Friday in Sacramento was a great example. The Kings play the anyone but Steph defense. They did it also in January when the Warriors blew that 17 or 18-point lead. They played the anyone but Steph defense. The difference between that game and Friday was the people other than Steph in the anyone other than Steph defense, they hurt the Kings more. And a big thanks to that is Jimmy Butler, because he's able to help get the Warriors better looks in those situations when the opponents double-team Steph, force the ball out of his hands, and then Jimmy Butler and everybody else can get better looks than before the Jimmy Butler acquisition. So that's how I thought maybe the Mavs might see the Warriors attack Kyrie Irving. The other option, which honestly I thought was more likely, was you just throw GP2 on him and you kind of match GP2's minutes for the most part with Kyrie Irving. And the Warriors almost never put GP2 on Kyrie Irving in that basketball game, which didn't make a lot of sense. Now, maybe he was dealing with something because he kind of was a surprise absence the next day in Houston, the last game before the All-Star break, so maybe that's part of it. But honestly, I would not be shocked if we see more GP2 on Kyrie today, or we see at least the Warriors throw double teams his way. Because without Kyrie on last Wednesday, the Mavericks had zero chance. They had no shot at winning this basketball game. Klay had himself a good first half, and he caught fire early second quarter, if memory serves, but he was a volume shooter and barely made a bucket the rest of the game. And they had no Anthony Davis, no Lively, no Gafford, no P.J. Washington, no Dwight Powell. They had no, and of course no Luka because that was after the trade. they had no firepower, and it was going to take a 40-burger from Kyrie to get it done, and he did it, and they won the basketball game. It's a similar story today. Not a lot of firepower for the Mavericks. They have a lot of injuries still, specifically to their big men, and if that's the case, it's going to take a hell of a game from Kyrie and Klay to win this one, so the Warriors have to be creative with how they defend those two, and specifically Kyrie Irving, because once Kyrie gets going, that's what makes it easier for Klay Thompson as well. All right, time for a break here on Warriors Wrap-Up, on Warriors Live. Warriors Wrap-Up coming up post-game, and I'll be live from Splash for that as well. But we got plenty more to get into. I'm with you until noon today here on Warriors Live on 95.7 The Game, and I'm live from Splash, the newest sports bar and restaurant outside of Chase Center here at Thrive City. I've got on the big screen and on really every screen in the house right now, and there's a ton of them, Boston Knicks, Celtics Knicks from TD Garden on the parquet floor. It is an awesome sight here inside of Splash. If you are a sports fan, this is the place to be, and it's the place for me for the next hour and a half as well, and I will be back here for postgame. All right, time for a break here on Warriors Live. When we come back, we'll talk more about this matchup, Dubs and Mavs. We got time for your calls and your texts and your messages, 888-957-9570. Just how excited are you for Warriors basketball again, and what are your expectations now for the rest of the season? Do you want them? Do you think they can get to the 6th seed? We'll talk about that, plus Kuminga's imminent return. We got to talk about that as well. We got plenty of time for all your thoughts. 888-957-9570. Mark Randy with you. An extended Warriors Live continues next, right here on 95.7 The Game.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply.
It's a special extended edition of Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game. Welcome in. Mark Randy with you live from Splash outside of Chase Center here in Thrive City. If you haven't been just yet, you got to stop by at some point. Maybe you're busy this morning, but you got to stop by at some point. This is, I think it might become the place to watch sports in San Francisco. We got gigantic screens showing the best games of the moment, and right now that's Boston, the Knicks, the Celtics and the Knicks. And by the way, Boston is dominating early. Final minute of the first quarter, and Boston leads 34-17, and Tatum just almost had a thunderous dunk. He's going to head to the free throw line. But they're all over the place. People are filing in. They opened at 10. The game, of course, Warriors and Mavericks is 2 hours away now at 12:30. So if you're headed in, you want a place to stop to grab something to eat or something to drink or just to sit back, relax, and watch some sports, this is the spot to do it before you head into Chase Center. It's also the spot to watch Warrior games while they're going on, either inside of Chase Center or on the road. And today, they got a special with this matinee Warriors game. Warriors breakfast buffet, $40 for adults, but all you can eat, $20 for kids. That's 13 and under. Omelets cooked to order. They'll also have their game day menu ready to order a la carte. They've got omelets, bacon, house potatoes, pancakes, waffles, scrambled eggs, mixed green salad, and fresh fruit. Something for everything here at Splash. And I'm standing by here as well for the next hour and a half. And if you stop by, feel free to pop in, say what's up. Would love to meet all of you, especially those of you who stop by and are loyal listeners to Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game. All right, Warriors-Mavs, 12:30. I want to talk a little bit about some Warriors optimism because we do this song and dance. We've done this song and dance countless times this year. First of all, it was 12-3, and I don't know what you guys felt the expectations were for this Warrior team entering the year. I thought it would be smoother than last year, right? The Draymond suspensions were crazy, and that was difficult to deal with. And you kind of never felt like the Warriors had any sort of momentum or rhythm, right? They couldn't really build much because of what happened with Draymond. So I thought, maybe the record would be slightly better. Maybe if things go perfect for them, they get to 50 wins. And that would be a hell of a year, but looking at probably like the 5 or the 6 seed, kind of I felt like what the peak for the Warriors should be. And then 12-3 happened, and you begin to let yourself daydream, right? You think, well, maybe they're more like a 55-win team versus a 50-win team. We could be looking at maybe the 3 seed if things go well. And then, of course, what happened after that was they went 3-12 in their next 15, and they got to a stretch where they were 13-23 over 36 games, and they were below 500. And you're thinking, okay, well, maybe now this is just a team that you hope gets the 10 seed, and maybe they run into some luck, they catch fire, and they win their play-in games, and they make a postseason series. But just making a series would feel like an accomplishment, not necessarily winning one or being uber competitive in one. But then the Jimmy Butler trade happened. And I guess before even the Jimmy Butler trade happened, there were like all these little mini swings during the Warriors stretch of 13-23, right? And we can go back and we can find some of them. In this stretch where they have struggled, they have beaten teams such as Houston multiple times, Minnesota, Memphis. Who else have they beaten? They've beaten Oklahoma City as well. Orlando's a quality team. Like, they have wins against good basketball teams. And every time they have one of those wins, you can't help, and maybe I don't want to speak for everybody else, I couldn't help reacting to some of those wins and feeling like, well, they clearly have the ability, if they just can put it together on a more consistent basis, they're going to be a quality basketball team, right? And so you come away from each and every one of those basketball games and you think, oh, it's in there. Like, maybe now is the time that they finally put it together. But then they follow up that loss or that win, say they beat Oklahoma City. Really good basketball team. Wiggins was amazing in that game. He scored 27 points. Warriors beat Shea, probably the MVP favorite at this point. They beat him by 7 points at home. Okay? And then Phoenix comes to town 2 days later, and you lose that game by 25 points, right? And Phoenix, obviously talented, but they've got major issues. They tried to trade basically everybody on their team other than Devin Booker at the trade deadline and didn't make any trades, and now everybody on their roster knows that they were all being shipped out potentially, and it didn't happen. They have issues, major issues, and the Warriors got blown out by them 2 days after one of their best wins of the year. That's been the story of the year. And in terms of our emotions or expectations or our feelings, it has been an emotional roller coaster. It has been up and down. It has been, a step forward and 2 steps back. So as I try to figure out what the level of optimism should be for this Warrior team, I'm viewing it through the prism of what the last 3 months have been. And the last 3 months have been me getting excited at times, and then this team showing why you shouldn't get excited about them, right? Again, it's the win over OKC, and then the blowout loss at home to KD and the Suns, where you can't make a shot and you can't get a stop, and it just looks like absolutely terrible basketball. So I have a hard time, saying, well, this 5-game stretch, while it is better than just a singular win over, say, Oklahoma City, it is a sign of, I think, more consistent and more repeatable play. This 4-game stretch still, I feel hesitant to say, well, this is actually who they are, and they're going to come out and they're now going to win, 75% of their final games, and they're going to sneak up to be the 6th seed in the Western Conference. It's certainly possible, but there's a big chunk of me who's hesitant to feel that way because I feel like we've been encouraged to feel that way often this year, and it's been wrong time and time again. But, of course, now what is different is that Jimmy Butler is in town, and Jimmy Butler's making his debut. Jimmy Butler making his debut at home for the Warriors today. Klay Thompson also in town, and Andre Iguodala's jersey retirement. That is all going on today. That's why we've got an extended Warriors Live with you here until noon on 95.7 The Game. Live from Splash outside of Chase Center at Thrive City. Jimmy Butler is what pushes my belief a little further than I think maybe it should. While, again, my brain is telling me you've been wrong about this before, don't fall for it again. My mind is saying, well, what's different this time is that Jimmy Butler is in town. And I think one of the most encouraging aspects for the Warriors is they haven't shot the ball particularly well with Jimmy Butler. In fact, in 3 of the 5 games that Jimmy Butler has played with the Warriors have shot sub 30% from downtown. Pre-Jimmy Butler, the Warriors were 1-6. Pre-Jimmy Butler, 1-6 when they shoot 30% or worse from downtown this year. 1-6. Generally, doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it's almost nearly a guaranteed loss, right? The Warriors essentially, the easier way to put this is you live and die with the 3. The only shot you have at winning is if you make your threes at least a decent clip. If you're not making them at a decent clip, you will lose. And for the Warriors also, their problem was even if you do shoot the 3 ball at a really good clip, they still probably can find a way to lose. That has happened multiple times. One of the previous games against Dallas, not Klay's original return, but the game after, it was December 15th, the Warriors tied a franchise record for most made threes in a game, and Dallas won that game 143-133. So just when the Warriors get their shots falling, they still have found ways to lose games like that. So, again, to get back to the point, the Warriors are essentially a live by the 3, die by the 3 team. And when the threes are not falling, they don't have a way to win, at least prior to Jimmy Butler. Again, before Jimmy Butler came into town, the Warriors were 1-6 when shooting sub 30% from downtown. With Jimmy Butler, in 5 games, the Warriors have shot sub 30% from deep 3 times already, which not the greatest sign. I think the Warriors lost some shooting with this trade. Jimmy Butler not as good of a three-point shooter as Wiggins. Not that Wiggins is elite, but he is better than Jimmy Butler. So you lose some shooting. I think the Warriors will shoot better than they have for the majority of this 5-game stretch the rest of the year, but 3 times with Jimmy Butler, you've shot sub 30% from downtown, and you're 2-1 in those 3 games. Again, after being 1-6 in such games before Jimmy Butler. So that's where this difference comes in. What Jimmy Butler does is even if the Warriors' threes aren't falling to the point of like a terrible shooting day, sub 30% from downtown. We're talking like 3 for 11 and worse. We're talking 6 for 22. We're talking, a more accurate number for the Warriors because they put up so many might be something like 12 for 44, right? Warriors go 12 for 44 from deep. They can still find a way to win with Jimmy Butler. And it's not because Butler will score 40 points around the rim, not because Jimmy Butler will lock down everybody defensively and keep an opponent to 95 points in a game, but because Jimmy Butler just gives the Warriors a different way to score. And they haven't had that. So as I try to gauge optimism, right, my optimism level for this version of the Warriors, so much of it is just about the versatility that Jimmy Butler brings and what he brings that is different than everybody else on this roster. And what Jimmy Butler does is, again, he gives the Warriors a different way to win. They don't shoot well. He can get into the rim. He can get into the paint, and he can score. And I think the greatest example of this is what happened in Sacramento on Friday. What opponents had been doing to the Warriors for the majority of this season, and I can't really blame them considering how it's worked. And this is what the Kings do often. They do it really more aggressively than anybody else. They play the extreme trapping defense on Steph. They double him at half court. If he ever calls for a screen, the guy guarding the screener ignores the screener and just sends the double to Steph, and Steph is forced to either try to take on two dudes at once, which is very difficult, even for someone like Steph, or pass the ball out of the double and hope that your teammates can take advantage of the 4-on-3 that you have created via just the fear that you instill in defenses, right? 2 defenders follow Steph. That means you've got 4 Warriors and 3 defenders elsewhere. So get the ball to whether it's Draymond or whether it was Wiggins before the trade and just hope that those 4 dudes can execute to the point where they get themselves good looks. And if they get themselves good looks, they can make those looks and take advantage of those good looks. And what the Warriors had proven this year is those others, Wiggins and Draymond, and at times Kuminga and Moody and Kyle Anderson and Lindy Waters and everybody else on the roster, just Buddy Hield, have not proven on a consistent enough level that they could take advantage of those 4-on-3 situations and use the advantage that Steph gives them and capitalize consistently enough. So what opponents had gambled, and generally speaking, pretty safe gamble, and it's what the Kings did to come back from that 17-point deficit against the Warriors in Sac in January. They just force the ball out of Steph's hands, and they say, somebody else beat me. Somebody else, come on. It's going to take somebody else scoring 25 to win this basketball game. We're not going to let Steph get to 30 and unlock everything on the Warriors' offense. What has been different? And Steph Curry spoke about this. I think it was either after the first or the second game of Jimmy Butler's Warriors career. It was either after the Chicago game or the Milwaukee game. I can't remember off the top of my head. When Steph Curry was asked about how Jimmy Butler changes things for him offensively, and he essentially said, it allows me to feel more confident about when I pass the ball up and when I, pass the ball to get out of the double team. I feel more confident that everybody else is going to take advantage and will be able to execute and get a good look as a result. Like, he literally said that. Like, the confidence level and the optimism that he has that the rest of the offense can work after he passes out of a double team, it has skyrocketed. And that is what Jimmy Butler does. He creates a problem for defenses because no longer is the obvious solution to just say, double Steph, make somebody else beat you. Because if you double Steph, and Steph can get the ball to either Draymond or to Jimmy Butler, and I think specifically to Jimmy Butler, you know that he's going to make the right basketball decision like 95% of the time. And that just did not happen elsewhere. And by the way, his good basketball decisions are also better than most other people's basketball decisions. And not just like the right or wrong, but like when he's doing the right thing, he just has a higher level to which he can do it at. Like Jimmy Butler driving and dishing is so much better than Andrew Wiggins driving or dishing. It just gives the Warriors a different level. And I think one area that Jimmy Butler was severely underrated at coming over, and if you're a big league pass guy and you watch the Heat a lot, or really if you just remember his run to the finals a couple of years ago, you know how good of a passer he is. But I don't think every Warrior fan out here realized how good he is. I mean, some of the passes that he made around the rim on Friday in Sacramento, otherworldly. I mean, he might be the best Warrior passer on the roster. I mean, Draymond's a hell of a passer, and Steph Curry has always been underrated as a passer, although he does try some crazy ones that result in some bad turnovers. But that happens sometimes. Jimmy Butler might be just the best pure passer on this roster, and it is one of the areas that I think he is severely, severely underrated in. He has been great at that. So you get Jimmy Butler the ball, say, free throw line extended, just inside the three-point line or right around the three-point line, top of the key, off of a Steph double team. And you have Jimmy Butler who can now drive past his man, or he's not even being guarded by anybody because he came up to set the screen on Steph. The double team followed Steph. Jimmy Butler's now open. Steph gets in the ball, top of the key. Butler drives. Defense comes over to help, but he still might have the advantage, can try to lay it up and in, although he, much like the rest of the Warriors, have struggled shooting the ball around the rim. Kind of interesting that Jimmy Butler has struggled at that because he's taking after the rest of the Warriors roster. But what he can also do is he can drive, get that advantage, draw the defense, and then, as we just talked about, his passes are at another level, and he can find somebody cutting. He can find Moody in the corner. He can find Buddy Hield in the other corner or in the wing. And open threes from those two guys are good looks. Now, it's one thing for them to go in. It's one thing to have the looks, another for them to go in. But if you're just creating good looks over and over and over again, you are generally going to shoot a better percentage. And those makes will come as a result of you consistently getting good looks. It's about the process more than the results. And that's what the Warriors have going for them with Jimmy Butler in town. The other thing that Jimmy Butler does is he's just so much calmer and under control and aware of time and score and situation and momentum, and he will calm things down. And you've seen it in the Warriors' turnover numbers. Let me read some of these turnover numbers to you because it is really an impressive thing. The Golden State Warriors' turnover margin in the 5 games with Jimmy Butler, right? So turnovers that you forced and turnovers that you've committed. What's the difference? A positive differential means you force more than you commit. Against Chicago, Jimmy Butler's debut, Warriors +2 on the turnover margin. Against Milwaukee, +11 in the turnover margin. Against Dallas, -1. The first time you lost the turnover battle, although you won the points off turnover battle by a single point in that one. But Dallas, -1 turnover margin. Houston, +9, and then Sacramento on Friday, +12. So over the course of all 5 games, the Warriors +32 in terms of turnover differential, the turnover margin. They have forced 32 more turnovers than they've committed in the 5 games with Jimmy. That is a huge number. That's an average of more than 6 per game, right? A little more than 6 per game. You force 6 more turnovers per game than you commit with Jimmy Butler in town. And to take it even a step further, you have turned that +32 turnover differential over the last 5 games into a +91 points off of turnovers edge. That's the other thing that Jimmy Butler does. And I know I've been rambling here about all of Jimmy Butler's qualities, and there's a lot of them. Jimmy Butler, 1, helps you force turnovers defensively. I haven't mentioned that. Helps you avoid committing turnovers offensively because of his smart level of play and how calm he is and his basketball intellect. But what he also does is when those rare occasions pop up now where you do commit turnovers, Jimmy Butler is a defensive stopper on the other end, and he can help limit turning those into points. That's where Jimmy Butler also shows. That's where his impact also shows up. And he's much like Draymond in that sense. There was a moment in Sacramento, I believe it was, I can't recall if it was in the first half or second half. I think it might have been in the second quarter when the Warriors pushed the lead to 20, and then Sacramento started their run, and they got back with an 8 at one point. I think it was during that run in the second quarter when Steph Curry committed a really rough turnover. It was bad. One of his, I think he only committed 2. Draymond committed 1. Jimmy committed none. Those 3 combined for 3 turnovers all game. There was one really bad one by Steph, and it resulted in a 2-on-1 break for the Kings. Draymond was the only defender back. And I believe it was Malik Monk trying to throw the lob to, it might have been Keegan Murray, but it was Monk trying to throw a lob, and Draymond, he is the best at this, but Jimmy Butler is also very good. Draymond managed to, one, show himself enough to Malik Monk to force Monk to pass the ball up, but also stay in the sweet spot where he can still defend the pass. So he kind of does like a fake push, like he fakes like he's going to run at Malik Monk to force him into thinking that he's coming for him. And then as he does that, and as Malik Monk makes up his mind to pass, Draymond immediately backpedals. And as he does that, Malik Monk tried to throw the lob over the top of him, and Draymond can just knock it away. Like, that is also what Jimmy Butler can do. He can take away scoring opportunities in moments like that. And we talk so much about turnovers and how it's like generally like the Warriors' big bugaboo. Really, they're actually a top 10 team in terms of fewest turnovers committed per game, but it oftentimes has become that they commit turnovers in the big moments, and their turnovers almost always lead to points, easy points the other way. The difference for the Warriors with Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green is a part of this, is there's fewer turnovers, but even when they're committing turnovers, they're not the live on-ball turnovers that don't turn into easy points. And even if it is rare when it is those kinds of turnovers, the Warriors are better equipped to not allow those to turn into very easy points because they have 2 great defenders now on the floor at most times in Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green. So there's a lot of benefits to Jimmy Butler, and it's part of the reason why I think the Warriors are going to be the 6th seed. I really do feel like that is possible for this Warrior team because Jimmy Butler helps them in so many different ways. And by the way, there is no doubt that it is not surprising that with Jimmy Butler here, Moody's playing better, Podziemski's playing better, Hield is playing better. Like, that should not be a surprise to anybody. Jimmy Butler makes those kinds of role players better, and I think role is the key word because those guys, for the most part this year, have been asked to fill a role that they simply put either because of who they are or early in their career, they're not capable of filling those roles right now. Like, Buddy Hield was asked to be a starter to score like 18 points per game. He's simply not that guy. He'll be that guy in, a stretch. He'll get hot and he'll help you for a stretch, but he's not that guy over the course of a season. But now with Jimmy Butler, he's going to get you like 18 points every single game, and he scored 17 or more in all 5 of his games. You don't need Hield to score 18 anymore. You need Hield to score like 12, and you need Moody to score 11. You need Podziemski maybe to get you somewhere around there as well. And if you get the 20 plus from Steph and the 20 from Butler, suddenly it's much easier to kind of figure out how this rotation and how this offense is going to work going forward. All right, time for a break here on Warriors Live. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We still have to hear from some of the Warriors after the game in Sacramento. We will do that coming up on the other side. And plus, we've got to get into the injury report. We've got plenty more to get into as Warriors Live continues. It's Mark Randy with you, live from Splash outside of Chase Center in Thrive City. They're open now. It is filling up. They've got a Warriors breakfast buffet going on, including omelets, cooked to order, bacon, house potatoes, pancakes, waffles, scrambled eggs, mixed green salad, and fresh fruit. Plus, they have their game day menu to order a la carte if that interests you as well. It's Mark Randy with you, live from Splash in Thrive City. 1 more hour of Warriors Live. We're back after this here on 95.7 The Game.
Are you curious about who offers the best?
Welcome back. Mark Randy with you here on 95.7 The Game for an extended Warriors Live ahead of Dubs and Mavericks. Tip-off is at 12:30, so an hour and a half away. I'm with you for the next hour until Tim Roy and company takes over at noon. It's a big day because the Mavericks are in town, which means Klay Thompson is in town. Third time he'll be playing at Chase as a member of the Mavericks. It is Jimmy Butler's first home game as a Golden State Warrior, and the Warriors are 4-1 in his first 5 games as a Warrior, period. But this is his first home game as a Warrior, and today is the day that the Warriors officially retire Andre Iguodala's number 9. And Andre Iguodala is here at Chase Center / Thrive City. He arrived about 20 minutes ago. The ceremony of his jersey retirement is officially happening post-game today. So if you are on your way into Chase or you're listening on the Odyssey app inside of Chase or wherever you might be right now, stay post-game because that's when the ceremony is happening. Not pre-game, not at halftime. It is happening post-game. But pre-game, just about 20 minutes ago, the Warriors had been unveiling a medallion outside the arena at Thrive City. So that's going on now. It just happened a little bit ago. Rick Barry's there. Mo Spates is in town. I know Brandon Rush is in town because the other thing to keep in mind is the 2015 Warriors, which is now a decade ago, by the way, 10 years ago. The Warriors are celebrating the 10-year anniversary of that championship team on Tuesday when Charlotte is in town. So it's a big few days here around Chase Center. And again, Splash is where I am right now. Splash is a great spot to check it all out. If you haven't been, it's Thrive City's newest sports bar / restaurant. It's right outside of Chase Center on the west side of Chase Center. It's a gigantic space. It's got 2 levels, multiple bars. They've got a kitchen in the back. Right now they've got an omelet bar. They got a breakfast buffet out. You can order an omelet cooked to order. They got bacon, house potatoes, pancakes, waffles, scrambled eggs, mixed green salad, and fresh fruit. They're open now. It's a $40 Warriors breakfast buffet for adults, $20 for kids. And maybe the best part about this spot is you have got endless television screens. And if you're a big sports fan, they've got sports all over the place. Halftime right now in Boston between the Celtics and the Knicks. They got a ticker going around as well that has scores from every possible, imaginable, sporting event you could dream of. This is really a sports fan's heaven. And if you haven't stopped by just yet, I do recommend it. I'm here for the next hour. If you do stop by, you can say what's up. If I'm on the air, I'll give you a wave. But if it's during a commercial break, I would love to meet you. You can also join the conversation yourself, 888-957-9570. I do also want to give you an update. Steve Kerr has spoken pregame already today, and he gave an update on Jonathan Kuminga. The latest we heard from the Warriors about Kuminga was that he had returned to practice but hadn't yet scrimmaged. That has changed. Steve Kerr saying a little bit ago, about 15 minutes ago, Jonathan Kuminga scrimmaged yesterday. It's his first 5-on-5 live contact. This is an important step in his impending return. Kuminga is for sure out today and Tuesday, but he will be reevaluated prior to the Warriors' 5-game road trip. And that road trip for the Warriors begins, I believe, in Orlando. Let me confirm that for you. Yes, in Orlando on Thursday. That's Thursday the 27th. Kuminga will be reevaluated prior to that game. So that would suggest to me that there's a chance that he does play on Thursday. So he might only be missing 2 more games. However, even from a more conservative approach, I would expect Kuminga to return at some point on this 5-game road trip. And I would imagine it's probably not in the second half of the road trip. I would imagine sometime in the first 3 games. Orlando's on Thursday. Philadelphia's on Saturday. And then Charlotte is on Monday. The Knicks Tuesday. And the Nets Thursday. That is the 5-game roadie. I would expect Kuminga to play at some point, probably the first 3 games of that road trip. Orlando Thursday, Philly Saturday, Charlotte Monday. One of those 3 games would be my guess, and who knows, it might be as early as Thursday in Orlando. Kuminga returning is going to be really interesting. We can talk about that coming up in a little bit here on Warriors Live. But for now, as promised, let's hear from Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr post-game on Saturday. On Friday in Sacramento after the Warriors' dominant win, improving to 2 games over 500, getting up to the 9 seed in the West. Now 4-1 with Jimmy Butler. Steve Kerr addressed a lot. Let's hear from the coach. It's Coach Kerr Friday night after the win in Sacramento. Here he is on Warriors Live.
Pretty complete game. What did you most appreciate about the way you guys played tonight?
Just the way we took care of the ball and avoided points off turnovers for them. That's what's killed us here a few times in the last few years. We've had big leads and started turning it over and giving up transition points, and we didn't do that tonight, and that was it's a great sign.
Conversely, you create 38 points off turnovers. What stuck out about your defense?
Just really solid. I thought we had them in a lot of late clock situations where we guarded their first actions and then put them in tough spots where they had to make some plays, and we were able to force some turnovers and get out and run off of those. So just a great two-way game for us tonight.
4 20-point scores. How'd you feel about the collection of scoring that you guys got?
Really good balance. I thought Steph was brilliant in the first half. He was 2 for 3, and you don't see that very often where he only gets 3 shots and a half, but he had 6 assists and no turnovers and controlled the game. And, you see Jimmy's impact. I mean, anytime we get into trouble, he can get to the line. The game settles down when we get him the ball. And, and then obviously we had, Moses and Buddy both knocking down threes, and they both played great games.
You guys had like a 7-minute stretch in the first quarter, second quarter, where Steph was on the bench and you guys were plus 14 without him. I mean, what led to that, and what kind of luxury is that right now?
Well, Quentin came in, knocked down 3 threes right away. So that top of the second quarter group with Draymond, Jimmy, Quentin, BP, I think Buddy was out there with them. They were great. And Steph was even able to go back to the bench. He was scheduled to check in, and that group was on a run. And so we sent Steph back and waited till after the timeout to bring him in, bought him an extra minute, and let that group go.
Did you spend any of your break looking at the standings and trying to figure, because you've talked about the 6th seed being a target. I mean, how much are you studying what's kind of needed here?
I didn't look at the standings at all during the break. It was awesome.
Not once?
Yeah. I look at the standings every day. I mean, all season long, and we know who's ahead of us and where they are. And there's not anything we can do other than play like we did tonight. And the good thing is there's a lot of time left. 26 games left. If we can get on a streak like we did early in the season, get on a run like that, we can make up games pretty quickly. But we need to do that, obviously. So good start to the post-All-Star break slate tonight, and obviously another huge game against Dallas on Sunday, so we got to be ready for that one.
Is it? I mean, it's 6, though. I mean, 6 is definitely what you're looking at.
That's the goal. I mean, it's not going to be easy. We got a lot of great teams in the West, but it's absolutely still in play. So, we have to have good health, and we may need some other teams to lose, but everyone's got to play each other. There's a lot that can happen still.
Steve, this is your 3rd game where you've scored 125 or more points with Jimmy in the lineup. What are you seeing with your offense, especially when they double Steph, how open guys are compared to before?
He passes. He creates shots with his passing, with his penetration, with his brilliant footwork, fundamental play. We always talk about playing off 2 feet. Jimmy plays off 2 feet. Jump stop, pivot, never turns it over. He's got claws for hands, and then he gets the ball out of traffic, and we end up with wide open looks. And he just connects the game for the rest of the guys, and we're getting much better looks because of Jimmy's presence.
As a team, you guys had 40 assists tonight. I think in the first half it was 23 assists on 26 made shots. Yeah. Just what did you think of the way the ball was moving out there?
It was great. First half we got probably more off-ball stuff than we did in the second. Just did a really good job of screening and getting shooters open. But again, the key to tonight was taking care of the ball. Our guys did a great job of that. Only 12 turnovers against a team that has, like I said, caused us a lot of problems with their pressure in the past. So great effort.
Have you noticed any a confidence pick me up getting Jimmy? You talked a lot before about getting down sometimes. Do you feel like just the presence of that guy solves a lot of that?
100%. Yeah, Jimmy gives us some swagger. I think Mike Dunleavy knew, we needed a shakeup. We just did. We were kind of treading water, and even though we loved our group and we traded away guys who we felt really strongly about, there are just times where, organizationally, you got to make a move. You have to sense it and feel it. And I thought Mike and the front office just did a great job of sorting through everything. Really starting from last summer when we didn't get any of the guys we were really looking for at the top of the free agent list. And Mike said last summer, we're gonna sign some good players, and we're gonna be patient. And if we can make a move at the trade deadline, then that's the plan. And pretty impressive when you think about that foresight from Mike. And Jimmy is obviously a really good fit next to Steph and Draymond. And so Mike's patience and then making that deal, as painful as it was to lose our guys, we needed the shakeup, and you can see the difference right now.
Steve, mentioning Steph, how about the fact that in his 700th game, he got 20 points tonight. He's the 21st player to reach those milestones. What more can you say about
21st player to what?
To play 700 games and score 20 or more points in 700 career games.
20 or more points in 700 career games? Yeah. That's pretty impressive. Raymond, what do you think?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Raymond agrees. That's 720-point games.
That's 720-point games. First Warrior to do it, 21st player in NBA history.
How many did you have?
4. That might be true. 5?
17.
Playoffs included.
What have you seen from Moses just the last few weeks as he stayed? Where has he grown the most this season?
I think just the confidence that's coming from consistent playing time and minutes, and he's a good fit, as I said, pregame, playing next to BP, Steph, Jimmy. Those guys are all playmakers. Draymond, and he can play the role that I think he's most comfortable in, which is space the floor, let it fly when he's open, play hard, compete, and so Moses is in a really good place and has really established himself, as a starter with this group, and I'm excited about him.
Steve, you talked pregame about Pods and Buddy and why you made the changes. Is tonight, I don't want to say justification, but is tonight a good example of what you were looking for when you decided to
I mean, Buddy's always going to play a big role for us with his shooting, and so I just think it feels right to bring him off the bench as a sixth man and to start BP for his playmaking and the connection that he brings to the game. And I imagine we'll stay with this lineup, and I hope so, because we've had a million different starting lineups this year. It'd be really nice to stick with this the rest of the season and keep building continuity with our lineups.
Just into the game, how nice was it to see Kevin Knox out there knowing his story?
It was great. I'm so proud of Kevin. We had him in training camp. He had a really good camp, and he's been through a lot. Coming around, really committing to his time in Santa Cruz and getting better and improving. I think he can help us. And he only got in for a few minutes at the end, but you see the talent, and I have no doubt that there's going to be some games where we put him out there and he's going to help.
Just to clarify on the starting unit with Moody and how well he's playing and how well he fits, do you envision this starting unit staying intact once Kuminga comes back?
Yeah, I do. JK was coming off the bench before he got injured, and he was playing really well. He was playing 30-plus minutes, but we had that rotation before he got hurt. We're obviously playing well right now. Hopefully that continues. So I never am going to commit to anything because it's all dependent on how we're playing. But if we keep playing like this, then we keep starting this way.
That's Steve Kerr post-game on Friday in Sacramento as his team earned a dominant win, 4-1 in the Jimmy Butler era, back to 2 games over 500 for the first time in more than a month and a half. Last time the Warriors were 2 games over 500, they were 18-16 after a win on January 4th. It has been a long time coming, and the Warriors are playing a lot of really good basketball right now. When you heard Steve Kerr talk about it, the trade for Jimmy Butler, an emotional experience because it meant saying bye to Wiggins. I think he's the toughest one to say bye to, but it meant saying bye to Kyle Anderson. It meant saying bye to Dennis Schroeder. It meant saying bye to Lindy Waters. Not an easy thing, but I think the Warriors, and you got to give them credit for it, they realize that Jimmy Butler by himself is more of a help to the Warriors than that group of 4 could possibly be. And it's nothing against any of those guys individually. It's just simply Jimmy Butler. He's one of the best players in the NBA. When things are right around him, right, when he has no reason to be upset, there's no denying it. I mean, he has the final days of his experience in a number of places, including Miami, of course, but also including Minnesota, including Philly. Like, it generally has gotten ugly, and none have been uglier than the end of his time in Miami. But if you don't give Jimmy a major reason to be upset, and you get this Jimmy, he is one of the best and most impactful players in the NBA. And specifically from the Warriors' standpoint, I don't know what there is that Jimmy Butler can be upset by. And it's why I am not worried about the Jimmy Butler personality as much as anybody else. He was upset in Miami because he did not get the contract extension that he wanted. He willingly signed a 2-year, $112 million contract extension with the Warriors. He got the money and the contract and the years that he wants. He's here for 2 more years after this one. The Warriors are surrounded by all-stars, by Hall of Famers. You got Stephen Curry and you've got Draymond Green. You've got Steve Kerr. You have dudes who have accomplished 4 different times what Jimmy Butler is so desperately wants, and that is to win a championship. And Jimmy Butler is, as far as I could tell, happy to be here. And as a result, I'm not that worried about the personality clash of Jimmy Butler. All right, 888-957-9570. Mark Randy with you here on Warriors Live, an extended Warriors Live, because we've got a really special day here at Chase Center. Andre Iguodala is in town for his jersey retirement. That ceremony is happening after the game today. So if you are in attendance today, make sure you hang out post-game, because that is when his number 9 will actually go up into the rafters. That's happening. And by the way, Andre Iguodala, just outside of Chase Center at Thrive City, his Walk of Fame medallion has just been unveiled outside. So essentially think of it like the Hollywood star, like the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the star. Stars for the Hollywood stars in Southern California in Hollywood. Think of it that way. It's like in the ground, a medallion. It's the Warriors logo with the bridge logo, and it says Iguodala and number 9, and probably has a few more details that I can't quite see here. But that has just been unveiled. His jersey retirement will happen post-game, but during the game, we've got Jimmy Butler's Warriors home debut. We've got Klay Thompson returning again, and we have got a really, really important basketball game. I'll get into that in a sec, but first I do want to remind you that I am live at Splash here in Thrive City outside of Chase Center. They open at 10 o'clock this morning, been open for a while. It is bustling in here. They got delicious food, great drinks. If you want to gear up for this basketball game, Warriors Breakfast Buffet, $40 for adults, $20 for kids. It is all you can eat. They'll make omelets, cooked to order. It is delicious. They've got pancakes. They've got waffles. They've got potatoes. They've got eggs. A lot of good stuff. Something for everybody here at Splash. And they've got gigantic screens, and they're all over the place to help you enjoy all of the sports action, including if you are not going to Chase for the game, you can watch the Warrior game here. And if you're not inside of Chase, it's hard to find a better spot than Splash to watch Warriors basketball, specifically right outside the building in which the games will be played in themselves. Okay, this is a pretty big basketball game because the Warriors are at 29-27. And as we look at the Western Conference standings, the Mavericks are 31-26. The Mavericks are the 8th. Really, they're tied with Minnesota for the 7th, but the T-Wolves have the tiebreaker. So Dallas is 8, and the Warriors are 9, separated by a game and a half. Dallas leads the season series 2-1, and this is the final time these two teams will play against each other. So, important. A win today means the Warriors would only be a half game behind Dallas for the 8, and who knows what's going to happen with Minnesota today. They do play Oklahoma City tonight. More on that a little bit later on here on Warriors Live. But let's just assume for a second that OKC wins. They're the best team in the Western Conference, one of the best in the NBA. Let's assume OKC beats Minnesota and the Warriors beat Dallas. The Warriors would be a half game out of the 7 seed. And they have the tiebreaker on Minnesota, and with the win today, they would even up the season series against Dallas, which means in the event of a tie after 82 games between the Mavericks and the Warriors, it would go beyond just head-to-head record. So the Warriors have a chance to win that tiebreaker as well. But they already hold the tiebreaker against Minnesota, and if the T-Wolves lose to OKC, which Vegas is expecting, and the Warriors beat Dallas, as Vegas is expecting. By the way, Warriors 9-point favorites today. I mean, that's crazy. I don't remember the last time the Warriors were a 9-point favorite. That is, one, respect for Jimmy Butler and this era of Warriors basketball. And it is, two, Dallas has no big men, and this should be a game the Warriors should handle. We felt that same way last Wednesday when the Warriors were in Dallas. We know how that went. Warriors lost. Kyrie Irving scored 42. But it's a little different now. Warriors at home. They're playing good basketball, and you feel like they should get it done. So just pretend that happens. Warriors beat Dallas. OKC beats Minnesota. The Warriors would be a half game out of the 7 seed, which, considering how ugly this season has been, that's pretty darn impressive. That is pretty darn impressive for the Warriors. Meanwhile, as we look even further around the NBA in the Western Conference, the Clippers are the 6th seed right now, and that should be the Warriors' goal, to get to the 6th, and I think it is well within the realm of possibility for that to happen. They're 2.5 games out of the 6th right now. The Clippers currently own that spot. The Clippers have a tough game in Indiana today. So the Clippers in Indiana, let's also pretend things continue to go the Warriors' way, and Indiana wins, again, as Vegas expects. The Warriors add that onto our other assumptions, and I know I'm playing a very dangerous what-if game, but let's just keep it going for a sec. Warriors win, which means Dallas loses. Let's say Minnesota loses to OKC, and let's say the Clippers lose to Indiana. The Warriors would be a half game out of 7, and they'd be a game and a half out of 6th. This is so possible for the Warriors. They just got to control what they can control. I'll do the scoreboard watching for the Warriors. They don't have to do it just yet, but if you just string some wins together, and over your final 26, you go something along the lines of 19-7, 18-8, you have a real good shot to be the 6th seed in the Western Conference, which, again, should be the Warriors' goal. All right, time for a break here on Warriors Live. When we come back, it's our final segment of Warriors Live, an extended edition. We'll get to our injury report, which is pretty short for the Warriors, long for the Mavericks. I'll give you my take-it-to-the-bank prediction. All of that and more is coming up as we get ready. Warriors, Mavericks, coming up from Chase Center, 12:30, Iguodala jersey retirement day. It is Jimmy Butler's home debut, and Klay Thompson is back in town. More coming up. It's Mark Randy live from Splash in Thrive City. Warriors Live continues next on 95.7 The Game.
Now back to Warriors Live on 95.7 The Game.
Welcome back. Mark Randy with you here on Warriors Live on 95.7 The Game. As always, Warriors Live presented by Xfinity. Stream sports from the best seat in the house with Xfinity. Bring on the good stuff. Live at Splash in Thrive City outside of Chase Center. We got the big screens on right now watching Celtics and Knicks. The Celtics absolutely dominating. This is the game one of the ABC doubleheader. Warriors and Mavericks coming up after this. If you're on your way into Chase, you can stop by Splash. If you haven't been just yet, first of all, it's brand new. You got plenty of time to get here, but I highly, highly recommend it. They got a Warriors breakfast buffet going on right now. Omelets are cooked to order. They'll also have their game day menu to order a la carte if you prefer. But with the Warriors breakfast buffet, they've got omelets, again, cooked to order, bacon, house potatoes, pancakes, waffles, scrambled eggs, mixed green salad, and fresh fruit. That is all here at Splash at Thrive City outside of Chase Center. And if you're not at Chase Center, honestly, I can't think of a better spot to watch Warriors basketball or really sports in general than here at Splash at Thrive City. So that's where I am for the next half an hour. I'm with you until 11:30, until noon, because the game is at 12:30. Tim Roy and company takes over at the top of the hour at noon to get you ready for Warriors and Mavericks. The 29-27 Warriors against the 31-26 Mavericks. Klay Thompson back in town. Jimmy Butler's home debut as a Warrior. And it is Jimmy Butler's Andre Iguodala's jersey retirement day. That is happening. The ceremony is happening post-game after the Warriors and the Mavericks today. I confused Iguodala for Jimmy Butler because, as the 408 pointed out a little bit ago on our text line, and you can join the conversation, 888-957-9570, Butler is the next Iguodala. So poetic that it's his first home game on Iguodala jersey retirement. They are very similar. They do have a lot of the same attributes. Andre Iguodala, a better point of attack, on-ball defender, I would think. Both, though, just incredibly smart basketball players, and neither of them are the most gifted offensively. Like, neither of them are going to ever compete in a three-point shooting contest, right? But they can dribble, they can create, they can pass. They, more often than not, by a wide margin, make the right basketball decision. So there is a lot of similarities, I think, between Andre Iguodala and Jimmy Butler. And one thing that Iguodala did as a Warrior, and I think it's what Jimmy Butler does too, is he's just a connector. And I know you've probably heard Steve Kerr use that phrase before. He just makes so many other units and other combinations work, right? Like, how many times before the Jimmy Butler acquisition, but after the Dennis Schroeder acquisition, right, would the Warriors try to survive the non-Steph Curry minutes with Schroeder on the floor, along with, say, and really Podziemski was hurt for a majority of that stretch, so let's not even include Podziemski. Let's say it was Schroeder and Hield and Moody and Draymond and Looney, right? That was your five. Schroeder, Hield, Moody, Draymond, Looney. And if it wasn't Draymond, it was maybe even Kyle Anderson or whatever. It honestly doesn't really matter who the five were as long as it's pre-Jimmy Butler and it doesn't include Steph Curry. Like, that unit, the first question I have is, one, you don't have very much shooting, and I know Jimmy Butler doesn't change that much in that regard, but in a larger aspect, where is the offense going to come from in that unit? Like, you're not going to ask Draymond to score. Moses Moody has gotten a whole lot better, and he honestly might be one of the best options with that group. But it's not like you just say, hey, Moses, we're giving you the ball, we're getting out of the way, go get us a bucket. Moses is better in terms of operating in the flow of the offense, and he's been a lot better. I got to give him credit at driving and putting the ball on the deck and getting to the rim, but it's more so been off of closeouts, right? Like, Jimmy Butler drives or Steph drives, kicks to Moody open in the corner. He pump fakes the three. Crazy closeout from his defender. He drives past him. Nice finish around the rim. Like, you're not going to give Moody the ball top of the key, late shot clock, and say, Moses, drive, crossover, step back, get us to the rim, get a bucket. Like, that's not Moses' offense. That's not his game. So it's not going to be from him. It's not going to be from Draymond. It's not going to be from Buddy Hield. He can't really create a shot for himself. And you hope that it was Dennis Schroeder. That was the goal. That's why you made the acquisition. But it hadn't really been Dennis Schroeder either. So as I then fast forward to get to the Jimmy Butler era of this, what Jimmy Butler does is just swap Jimmy Butler in for, say, Buddy Hield, and really the example isn't right. Swap Podziemski in for Schroeder because Podziemski is here and Schroeder was traded out as part of the deal that brought Jimmy Butler in. So now say your 5 is Podziemski along with Moody and Hield and Draymond and Looney or whoever it is, whatever big man, Quentin Post. That is a group that just fits so much better because you know you have a shot creator for both himself and for others in Jimmy Butler, and he can be the driving force. He can be the engine of the offense in that stretch of play. Not to mention what he does defensively as well. But the Warriors can survive those non-Steph minutes because Jimmy Butler is what the Warriors call a connector. He makes so many other lineup combinations possible. So many combinations that the Warriors wouldn't even dare to try. They can try now with Jimmy Butler included in it because he gives them an angle that they haven't really ever had in the past. That is also where Jimmy Butler's value comes into play because he just makes things possible that the Warriors could not even dream of in the past. Anyways, it's Warriors live here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you ahead of Dubs and Mavericks. The 29-27 Warriors against the 31-26 Mavericks. The Mavericks 8th in the West are technically tied with Minnesota for 7th, but the T-Wolves, they have the tiebreaker. The Mavs 1.5 games ahead of the Warriors for the 8th seed in the West, and the Mavericks only 1 game behind of the Clippers for the 6th. They have been really injured of late, and before we continue with the story of the Mavericks seasons, let's just get to our injury report here on Warriors Live. Today's injury report is brought to you by Boxer & Gerson at Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. For more information, visit boxerlaw.com. First for the Warriors, Jonathan Kuminga still with that right ankle sprain. He is out. We got an update from Steve Kerr earlier today. Steve Kerr saying that he did scrimmage, got his first 5-on-5 live action in yesterday. He's going to miss today. He's going to miss Tuesday at home against Charlotte when the 2015 title team is honored a decade later. He might return as early as Thursday to begin the road trip in Orlando. Steve Kerr said he will be reevaluated before that trip begins Thursday in Orlando. So next update coming from Jonathan Kuminga, maybe Wednesday or maybe early in the day on Thursday. We shall see there. But an update before the Warriors play in Orlando on Thursday is expected. That's the only Warrior on the injury report today. Jonathan Kuminga is out. Everybody else is off the injury report and is available to go for the Warriors in this one. Meanwhile, for the Mavericks, much like last Wednesday when the Warriors played them in Dallas and Kyrie scored 42 to lead them to a narrow win, they essentially have no big men. Anthony Davis dealing with a left adductor strain. He's out. Also, Daniel Gafford, a right knee sprain. He is out. Derek Lively, he's out for the year. A stress fracture in his right ankle. He is out. And Caleb Martin, a right hip sprain, is also out. So no AD, no Gafford, no Lively, and no Caleb Martin. Plus for the Dallas Mavericks, Dwight Powell had been listed as doubtful. He has been downgraded to out. So also no Dwight Powell. He's also dealing with a right hip strain. No Dwight Powell. So let's just run through the big men, right? No Anthony Davis, no Daniel Gafford, no Derek Lively, and no Dwight Powell. They're all out. The one big man they do have available is also on the injury report. P.J. Washington was questionable all day. He has just been elevated, upgraded to available. So P.J. Washington dealing with a right ankle sprain. He will play. He is available. But no Anthony Davis, no Daniel Gafford, no Derek Lively, no Dwight Powell, and no Caleb Martin. That is a long and extensive injury list specifically to Dallas big men. The Warriors, I would imagine, will be going small again. I would be shocked if they do not start Curry along with Podziemski, Butler, Moody, and Draymond again, especially considering the Dallas Mavericks. Their biggest guy that they're going to have available is P.J. Washington. Draymond should be able to handle P.J. Washington without much of an issue. This is a game where you can play Draymond a whole lot more at the 5. because he's not going to have to be dealing with a 7-footer like Daniel Gafford or like Anthony Davis in this one. So this should be an opportunity where if it works, as it likely will, it'll be Draymond Green at the 5. Anyways, that was our injury report, as always, brought to you by Boxer & Gerson at Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm. This is Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game. I'm live from Splash outside of Chase Center in Thrive City. Warriors Live is presented by Xfinity at home or on the go. You'll get the fastest internet to all of your devices. It's interesting because the Warriors have gotten to a point now where you have 26 games left in the regular season, and you also have a fair amount of urgency. The Warriors are pretty urgent at this stage because they're only 2 games over 500, and you feel like you got to start stringing together wins because you want to climb out of the play-in tournament and get to the 6th seed, and it's well within the Warriors' grasp. 2.5 games behind the Clippers for the 6th. If things go well for you today, you could be a half game out of the 7, and you could be a game and a half out of the 6th if things go well for you. If the Clippers lose to Indiana, if the T-Wolves lose to Oklahoma City, and the Warriors handle business today against Dallas, which, by the way, Vegas thinks they should. They're a 9-point favorite. The Warriors could be looking at only being a game and a half out of the 6th seed when they go to bed tonight. We'll keep an eye on that throughout the day, of course, here on 95.7 The Game. But the Warriors, I think, again, there's that mix of 26 games left, not a lot of basketball left, and the urgency of trying to climb in the standings. And the Warriors have decided, well, okay, going small, Draymond at the 5 is our best unit. We're now going to lean into it more. Steve Kerr has talked about that. He said he has, quote, no reservations for playing Draymond more at the 5 now, considering the stage of the season that they're in. It's always interesting because Steve Kerr is, first of all, he's absolutely right that Draymond Green gives the Warriors the best chance to win at the 5. And their best groups are with Draymond Green at the 5 and with, a small ball 4, too, like a Moody or like a Kuminga, which is interesting, and maybe even a Jimmy Butler. Interesting when Kuminga does come back, how that impacts things. But it's so funny because the Warriors have gone through the first 56 games, right? 56 games this season? Yeah, 56 games for the Warriors. They've gone through this song and dance as if Draymond at the 5 hasn't been their best lineup always, and it has always been the truth. I mean, it's been that way since 2015, really even before that, 2013. Now you had Andrew Bogut, but the Warriors, even back then, when they would bring out the death lineup, right? And the death lineup was even pre-KD. The death lineup featured Draymond at the 5 and Harrison Barnes at the 4, even way back when, pre-Kevin Durant. Like, this is a team that has thrived with Draymond at the small ball 5. And we do this song and dance for the course of the entire season up to this point, trying to find the other units that will compete with Draymond at the 5. And I'm not saying that the Warriors made a mistake by not playing Draymond more minutes at the 5. Who knows? You could have played Draymond a lot at the 5 to begin the year, and he might have gotten hurt. And maybe he's out for the year. Maybe he's missed 20 games at this point, and you're 5 games worse. And you're really looking at an uphill battle to try to even make the play-in tournament. Like, that's all possible. But the idea that we've tried to convince ourselves that the Warriors' best lineup is something other than Draymond as the small ball 5, it's honestly pretty funny. Like, it has always been Draymond as the small ball 5. When the Warriors get to the playoffs, if they get to the playoffs, they're going to play a lot of Draymond at the small ball 5. It's a balancing act because you want to keep him healthy, but if Draymond is healthy, the Warriors' best lineup was, and will always be Draymond at the 5. It's just the reality of the Warriors and what that unlocks for them, and Jimmy Butler only allows the Warriors to do that even more. Warriors and Mavericks coming up at 12:30. I've got you covered for the next 10 or so minutes, and then Tim Roy will take over here on 95.7 The Game. Let's get to our Take It to the Bank prediction, which is brought to you by Fremont Bank, full-service banking, no compromises. I'll hit you with a quick twofer on this one. First of all, I'll predict no starting lineup changes for the Warriors, and specifically that Moses Moody will be in the lineup. That means the 5, I would imagine, will be Curry, Podziemski, Butler, Moody, and Draymond, as we just got done talking about. Warriors with the Draymond at the small ball 5 is their best group. I will say Moody continues to start and that the Warriors win. Warriors favored by 9 points tonight, so I might not be going on that much of a limb, but they have found ways to lose basketball games that they have been heavy favorites in the past. What brought this to my attention, though, was this statistic. And I found this really interesting. In a season in which the Warriors are only 2 games over 500 at 29-27, Moses Moody as a starter has never lost. Moses Moody has started 8 games this year for the Warriors, and the Warriors are a perfect 8-0. And I'll say that will improve to 9-0 today, which means Moses Moody will start. My prediction, not official, but I would be shocked, and that the Warriors earn themselves a win today over Klay, Kyrie, and the Dallas Mavericks. Again, my Take It to the Bank prediction brought to you by Fremont Bank, full-service banking, no compromises. A Warriors win and a Moody start. Make it 9-0, Moses Moody in the Warriors starting lineup, if that comes true today. As a starter this year, by the way, just to wrap up our Take It to the Bank prediction brought to you by Fremont Bank, Moses Moody as a starter averaging 13 points per game, over 55% from the field, over 51% from downtown, 3.5 rebounds, and 2 assists in 25 minutes per game. That's pretty darn good. That is pretty darn good. If you can get 13 points from Moody a night on over 55% shooting and 50% shooting from downtown, you're going to win a lot of basketball games, and Moses Moody is going to be a big part of it. So, Moody, keep up the hot shooting, and hopefully you continue to stay in the starting lineup. Although it will be interesting when Jonathan Kuminga comes back. Where do Kuminga's minutes come from? I don't expect Kuminga to start, especially not right away, but I don't think he'll start the rest of the season either. Does that mean Moody stays in the starting lineup? Does it mean they go back to either Post or Looney at some point? I don't know. But when Kuminga does return, how the minutes are going to play out is going to be really, really interesting, because one of the easiest ways to get Kuminga a whole lot more minutes, considering the Warriors love him at the 4 and they love Moody at the 4, is to play Moody less. But the way that Moody is playing right now, I don't know if that's the best decision for the Warriors. It might be more so maybe nothing for Guy Santos. It might mean less for GP2, except for on select nights like maybe today, when GP2 could be used to defend Kyrie Irving. But I don't know if you can get 30 minutes that way for Jonathan Kuminga. And if he plays the way he was pre-injury, he definitely deserves 30 minutes a game at least. All right, our out-of-town game of the night is sponsored by the San Francisco International Airport. Wherever your team goes, you can get there from SFO. There are 10 games around the association today, including the Thunder and T-Wolves from Minneapolis. The Thunder are tops in the West with a 45-10 record, while the T-Wolves are just 5-5 in their last 10 and are sitting at 31-26. Good enough for 7th in the Western Conference. Again, just 1.5 games ahead of the Warriors for 9th. The game tips at 6:30 tonight, so there is some time for you to get there if you really hustle, but no need to hurry. SFO can get you to Minnesota whenever you need. The Warriors have already played in Minneapolis twice this season and don't return there for the rest of the year, but there is a real chance that the Warriors and T-Wolves play each other in the play-in tournament. Now, we hope not. We hope the Warriors get to the 6 and avoid the play-in tournament, but if they do, there is a decent chance that a Warrior opponent could be Minnesota in the play-in. We shall see. Anyways, if that does happen, or when the Warriors visit Minnesota next year, SFO would be able to get you there, no problem at all. And that is our out-of-town NBA game of the night, sponsored by the San Francisco International Airport. Wherever your team goes, you can get there from SFO. All right, few minutes left with you here on Warriors Live. Thanks so much for tuning in all morning long as we approach the afternoon, as we get ready for Warriors matinee basketball at Chase Center. If you're on your way in, I'll see you in there. If you're on your way over to Splash, you're going to enjoy yourself out here. This is an awesome spot, a lot of fun. The food is delicious. The drinks are delicious. I was over here for All-Star Weekend for that, not partaking today. Don't worry. Drinks are delicious. We got countless screens showing all the best action from around the association and around the sports world. This is the place to be, and it is hopping right now ahead of Dubs and Mavs from Chase Center. Remember, if you are coming to the game, stay around for postgame because that is when Andre Iguodala's jersey will be retired. He is joining legends such as Al Attles, Rick Barry, Wilt Chamberlain, Tom Sherry, Chris Mullin, and Nate Thurmond in the rafters at Chase Center. Andre Iguodala already had his medallion or plaque unveiled outside of the arena today. Pre-game, his jersey will go into the rafters at Chase. Post-game today. Looking forward to that, and hopefully it is after a celebration and the Warriors knocking off Klay and the Mavs because they got to get them back a little bit of what happened last week right before the All-Star break. The Warriors went into Dallas. Kyrie Irving put up 42 on the Warriors, and Dallas, without a single big man essentially, managed to win that basketball game. So now the challenge is right back on to the Warriors, and we will see if they could get that done and improve to 2-2 on the year over Dallas. And if they do win today, they would be 3 games over 500. Can anyone guess the last time the Warriors were 3 games over 500? It was December 21st. They beat the Minnesota Timberwolves to improve to 15-12. That was the last time the Warriors were 3 games over 500. It has been essentially 2 full months since the Warriors had been 3 games over. They could do that with the win today against the Dallas Mavericks. All right, that'll do it for Warriors Live today here on 95.7 The Game. I'll be back with you for Warriors Wrap-Up, once again live from Splash. But after this short break, Tim Roy, Tom Tolbert, and company will be taking over, and then I'll be back after this game ends to recap everything between the Warriors and the Mavs. Warriors Live is presented by Xfinity. At home or on the go, you'll get the fastest internet to all of your devices. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks as well to Splash for hosting. It's been a great first show for me from Splash. Looking forward to being back here postgame for Warriors Wrap-Up as well. But for now, my name is Mark Randy signing off. We'll talk to you postgame. Coming up next, Warriors, Mavs, Jimmy's home debut. Klay in town. It's next on 95.7 The Game.
It's game time, Bay Area basketball fans.